Okay, and we are live this morning for the Brentwood Historic Commission meeting. We are live on the city's YouTube channel and WebEx. So I turn the meeting over now to Sherry.
Do you hear me? Okay. As you may know, Governor Bill Lee issued Executive Order 16 on March the 16th and extended its provisions by Executive Order 34 on May 6th, Executive Order 51 on June 29th, Executive Order 60 on August 28th, Executive Order 65 on October 28th, and Executive Order 71 on December 22nd. These orders were issued to ensure that government continues to function openly and transparently during the COVID-19 emergency while taking appropriate measures to protect the health and safety of citizens and government officials. In this order, Governor Lee emphasized that in the interest of limiting the community spread of COVID-19, private and governmental entities of all types should eliminate large public gatherings and conduct business remotely by electronic means to the greatest extent possible. The orders provide that governments may meet to conduct essential business by electronic means when the governing body determines that doing so is necessary to protect citizens. Sadly, COVID-19 continues to spread across the state and Williamson County. Therefore, the city has determined that in the best interest of protecting the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans and the citizens of Brentwood, it is necessary for the Historic Commission to meet partially electronically rather than in person. We have posted the link for public viewing on the city's website and social media pages, and we have disseminated the same to the media. Is there any objection by the commission? So now I have to do a roll call and call on you because you can't all say yes together. So I'm going to call Carol Krieger. So do you agree?
Agree.
Ann Dunn,
I have no objection.
Lois Hooker, I don't hear Lois. Ashley McAnulty, I didn't hear Ashley. Jody
No
Wrong.
objection. I am on, Sherry.
Okay.
Thank you. I have no objection.
Okay, thank you. Jody.
No objection.
Tara.
No objection.
Linda Lynch. Kathy Greaves.
You talk again.
Kathy's here,
Okay.
but
Do you
what
have
am I
any
agreeing
objection?
to?
Yeah.
I don't know what the question was. I just got on.
Okay. Well, we'll skip you. So did I miss anyone? Oh, Inetta.
You missed.
Yeah.
No
Holly
objection.
Cummings.
Yeah.
Okay. Holly? Or
No
Inetta?
objection.
Okay. Inetta?
No objection.
Okay. All right. I think I have everyone. Okay. So anytime we have a vote during this meeting, we'll have to do a roll call. So anyway, so now I called the meeting to order. And now we have the Prim property conditions. Kurt Bednar and Jeff are going to speak.
Good morning, everybody. This is Kirk. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I think you're all aware that the city has received a demolition request for the Prim house. So Jeff and I want to talk a little bit today about that process. And then we went and visited the home with Jim Thompson, I guess a week ago. I want to share some of the pictures we took there and just kind of fill you in kind of on where things stand and what happens from here, get your input relative to any ideas you might have in terms of how do we, any chance of finding someone to save the home, I think is limited. But anyway, so I'm going to share my screen. Deanna, hopefully, there you go. That's working. Okay,
Yes,
so I think everybody knows what, everybody can see that, I hope. And everybody knows where the Prim property is. And you also know that there's already been a subdivision approved for kind of the western half of that property, or western almost probably 60% of that property. 24 lots, and you'll recall that the final plan did include the incorporation of the 2 slave cabins into that subdivision so that they are preserved and permanently protected. But that left roughly a little over 15 acres in the Prim family ownership that included the home, the barn, and a couple of the outbuildings there. And I don't know if I can use a pointer here. I don't know. Anyway, so that is this area here in the eastern part of it. So that property has recently also been sold. So the Prim family no longer has an ownership interest in any of this property. The person who bought that has a plan to subdivide that little over 15 acres into 3 lots, each being a little over 5 acres. And this is lot A here shown. And you can see in the middle of that, the outline of the home. So the home would sit on lot A. The other 2 lots are just kind of running north along Moore's Lane. They're a lot B and a lot C. A couple of points here, and Jeff can elaborate if we need to. By making these lots greater than 5 acres, they do not require planning commission approval to subdivide the property. That's a state law. Anything greater than 5 acres does not fall under the subdivision regulations of the local government. Now, they still have to meet our zoning regulations relative to setbacks, buffers, and those kind of things, right, Jeff?
Yes, sir, they do.
Yeah. So that's why you see on the screen here where they've got 150-foot front setback from the arterial road and those kind of things. But subdividing the land into these 3 lots does not have to be approved by the Planning Commission. The owner of the property already has a contract to sell these 3 lots to a home builder. And that is what has generated then the demolition permit for the Prim house itself. Under our code, I think you all know this better than anybody, there is a 90-day waiting period for for demolition of any structures that have been deemed historically significant by the city, and this obviously has. So the permit application, Jeff, came in roughly mid-December, I think.
December 14th.
December 14th. So the 90-day period, is roughly March 14th, at which point we'll have to issue the demolition permit. That 90-day period is intended to give the city time to assess and determine if there's any alternatives, up to and including the city acquiring it, or if we can find someone else who is interested in either trying to buy the home and renovate it, and if they can try to help facilitate a deal between them and the owner. Someone buys it and removes the home, moves it elsewhere, any of those kind of things, if we can try to figure out someone doing that in the next, at this point, almost 60 days. So that's where things stand right now. Before we go forward, any questions on any of that and that legal process? Okay. feel free to jump in at any point in time to ask any questions here. And I appreciate you all taking on the electronic meetings and kind of being the guinea pig in terms of our advisory boards doing a fully electronic meeting. So we went out last Friday. Jeff, myself, Tim Harrington, our chief building official, and Jim Thompson from Centric Architecture. I think you're all familiar with Jim. And we were joined there by the home builder, Randy Arnold, who has the contract to buy the 3 lots. So, you know, we've got, I don't know, about 20 or 25 slides here. I'm not going to talk about each one. I'm just going to flip through them. I may point out something on a few of these. But you all obviously have seen the house. Some of you may have been in it in the past. I know Linda and I were in it probably 6 years ago or so. The condition of the home, and you've seen Jim's letter, parts of it are not too bad, and I know that's relatively speaking, and parts of it are in really bad shape. But these are just some exterior shots, as you can see. This is kind of the rear part of the home that you can't see from the road, that kind of back part of the L. And again, I'm just flipping through some things here. That's a full shot of the rear part of the home that you really can't see unless you're on the property. Just some examples of some of the deterioration and the damage that's on parts of this. So as you enter the home in the back part, which is really the area where the last person who lived in the house kind of lived, essentially nothing has been touched, moved, removed since the last person left the home. I don't know if any of the family members have even been in the home, but this is as you walk in the rear portion, which is kind of the more modern kitchen area, and this is kind of what you see. Again, it has been left and untouched for probably at least 6 years or so. This is a sleeping area where the last person that was in there slept. And then as you kind of move, there is a basement, a root cellar area below the center of below that room is a root cellar, and it's obviously dark, so we had the lights on. Anyway, this little indication of the beams, and not too bad a shape. The upper part, the lower part are a lot of termite damage. And then you kind of start making your way into the home. I think this is one of the original log cabin sections. And then you get into the center part, and you can see there's floor deterioration, water damage. And then you get into, and that's the roof of that, or the ceiling of that section there. And now you're into more of the front 2-story section of the home, and that's the part that's probably in the best shape, is that front 2-story section. And again, that's kind of relative, but the floors are really in good shape. Obviously, you've got ceiling damage and structural issues, but this kind of also gives you a sense of just the condition of the home in terms of what's in there and that kind of stuff. This is the front entryway and the 2-way stairs up to the second level. You can see Jim there on the right, but again, it's structurally, this part is probably the best part of it. And the floors really are in pretty good shape. This is the front parlor. That couch there on the right, according to Jim, appears to be maybe an original period piece, and the homeowner certainly indicated that if we had a desire to take that, he would have no problem with that. Deanna, I'm not trying to force it on you for the historic homes, but if we think there's any interest, it's probably worth getting somebody out there to really inspect it a little farther and see what it takes to clean it up and whatever. But again, as you can see in here, compared to the couple of the early rooms we went into in that back section, you know, fairly decent shape given the fact that it's been neglected as poorly as it has been over the years. This is the upstairs part of the 2-story rooms. Linda, you may remember that the long linear holes in the wall there are from a bee infestation from years ago, where they had to open it up and get the bees out. And again, that's never been repaired. This is the opposite side of the entryway. And you can see some of the structural wall issues there above that fireplace. Curious who the portrait is. The military portrait there is on the fireplace, so there wasn't anything identifying on it, but it was obviously sitting in a prominent place there, so I don't know who that is. This is kind of just the same room, a different view of it. So there's an indication of some of the ceiling damage and the mold and the water damage that's occurred over years. That's a pretty nasty ceiling section there of a small room. That's the second floor of the entry hallway with a little bit of ceiling damage there also. So that's the pictures that we had. And let me stop sharing here. So, so again, you saw Jim's letter. Again, Jim was just doing this as a favor. It wasn't a contracted service. We just asked him to come out, walk through the home with us, so that we at least could say that we had been in the home and seen the condition of it. So his letter, kind of is, and I just asked him to just document his very general observations of it. And as you saw, I think he acknowledged that parts of it probably would have to be demolished if anybody wanted to do anything with it, but that parts of it could be preserved. Although, again, in terms of someone buying it to make a modern home out of it, I think that's a concern. So really where we're at, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, is we've got about 60 days left in this 90-day waiting period. The home builder who's got the contract for the lots really intends to tear it down. Now he does intend and to salvage anything of historical value in there that might be used either in one of his homes or someone else, in terms of the flooring, maybe some of the mantle pieces, the windows, those kind of things. There's some foundation block around the front of the home that Jim pointed out to him are unique in terms of their design. So those kind of things that they do intend to take out of the house before it's demolished, but that is the plan. We can't stop it, as you know. It's private property, regardless of its designations. Whether or not there's anybody out there that is that kind of unicorn person who would have an interest in trying to do something with this house, I don't know, but that's really kind of, I think, where we're left at for this next 60-day period. Is, do we want to do something to get the word out, what the plans are for the home, and see if anybody does reach out, and then we can try to facilitate a conversation with the owners. I don't know, to be honest with you, and Jeff, your impression, I'd be curious to know too. I think the contractor, the home builder, probably, well, I know he wouldn't be interested in subdividing into a smaller lot. I think they want to maintain the 5+ acre lots so they don't have to go through the subdivision process. I don't know how interested he would be in someone who comes to him and shows an interest in buying the home and renovating it. I think he'd be skeptical of that. I've heard that his financing to buy the 3 lots is subject to the condition that the house is removed from the property. So that may mean the only option left is someone who comes and interested in relocating the home, and I think that even further limits the potential of finding someone to do that. So, Jeff, any other thoughts or comments from your side of things?
I think you covered it well.
So again, you all, yes. So we'll open it up for questions or thoughts or any discussion you want to have.
Going back to what you said about his willingness to sell it, but not necessarily breaking it up and and selling like the home and that lot, would he actually entertain the idea of someone buying his 5 acres, or it sounds like this is a business deal for him where he's looking to make down the road profit building these homes? Would he actually consider someone buying the 5 acres at what he paid for it or more?
And I don't know that I could say that he wouldn't consider it. I think if I'm him, I put myself in his shoes, my concern would be if I've got these other 2 lots that I'm trying to sell for estate-type homes in Brentwood, if he's going to sell this one and this home to somebody else, he's going to want some guarantees that not only is it going to be renovated, but he's going to want to know when the time frame that it's going to be renovated and what the final look is going to be, so that he doesn't devalue the other 2 lots by leaving this house here. You know what I'm saying?
When you say the other 2 lots, you mean the other 2 5-acre lots, or the 2 lots that he's going to subdivide in addition to this?
The other 2 5-acre lots that because he will buy all 3. His plan, obviously, like you say, it's a business plan to develop those into 3, I'm sure not inexpensive estate lots fronting on Moore's Lane. So he'd have to make sure that whatever he got out of this lot, like you say, will fit with his business model for what he thinks he can get in terms of profit on this lot, plus doesn't leave a house sitting there for 2 or 3 more years before any work is done on it that then devalues the other 2 lots. I think that's the challenge in my mind. And we didn't have that in-depth of a conversation with him about that, but that would be, in my mind, what I think would go through his mind on that. Now, if someone came to him and said, okay, I want to buy the house and the lot and contract with you to do the renovations and do the expansion and all that, then maybe that's a different story, as opposed to I just want to buy the lot and cut him out of anything that happens on that lot in the future.
A comment. In the house several years ago, I don't remember whether it was Charlie that told me or Bobby, but in that back kitchen, when you come in the back door, there's a fireplace there. And one of them told me that the mantle that's over that fireplace was taken out of one of the slave cabins. So that might be something we look at I know that we're not renovating the slave cabins, but Mr. Petto might want to know that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And again, Randy was very clear that, he was within reason, willing to anything that we, the city, in some form or fashion, would like out of the home or felt was significant to preserve somewhere else, that he's certainly open to that. So in that case, if there truly was something that maybe goes back into those slave cabins, I can't imagine that would be a problem for them.
Hi, Kurt, and hi, Jeannie, for joining us. Kurt, thank you for all those photos. I was curious about the shutters because the Boiling Springs Academy is in need of some repair, and some of the repair are to replace shutters that are broken. Are those shutters something that we could possibly obtain?
Yeah, we can ask. I don't know that if those are the right match or not. If they are, we can certainly approach them. I think they'd be interested in. I think they want to do whatever they can do to make sure that this isn't viewed by the city as some type of adversarial action by them. And we understand it's a business decision by them. I think we all understand that. So I think they're more than willing to entertain any ideas or requests that we might have within reason. That doesn't take something of huge value to them. There's a couple questions in the chat about whether we went down in the basement and then yeah, so that was that one picture I showed, and I guess I can go back to sharing real quick. So that picture there is down in that basement, which yes, was the foundation, we think, of the kind of the center part of that one level section, which I believe, as I understand it, may have been the original log cabin. And it's, like I say, other than some of the termite damage and the beams and all that, generally speaking, the walls themselves, that I recall, didn't show a lot of structural distress or anything. So anyway, so that was, yeah, what we did in the, that we did go down there. That's the only portion, I believe, that has any type of a basement root cellar structure. And that, the barn plans, Jeff, you want to address your discussions and plans relative to the barn?
Well, we have always been told that the Prims like the barn better than the house. And Randy Arnold wants to preserve the barn if he can. Unfortunately, and Kirk had one of these images for Lot A, I believe it was, that showed the barn and the historic house. The barn is in a non-conforming location. It is not in the building envelope. So if it is torn down to more than 50% of its replacement value, it has to be removed. It can't be altered in any way that would increase its nonconformity. There you can see the barn, and you can see that there's not a building envelope around it because it just doesn't meet the front yard setback as far as R1 is concerned. So he is looking in, Randy Arnold is looking into preserving that barn, but we don't know the extent of the work that would have to be done yet. There is a study that was done on the barn that was not too long ago. The current owner had it done. The barn is not in great shape either. That's about all I know, Kirk. As far as the barn is concerned, I mean, like I said, the barn is not included as part of the demolition permit.
Right. And so that, like, as Jeff said, the discussion was, I think Randy, the home builder, would like to have the option of having a barn on the property, and given that, because his style of home that he says is more of the farmhouse type style of home is what he'd like to put on there, as opposed to maybe a more modern looking home. And so he likes the idea of having a barn as a feature on that one lot. But as Jeff said, if he just tears down the barn that's there today, he can't put a barn back in that same location, even if he tried to replicate it. So to the extent he can salvage enough of it that we can keep it as a non-conforming structure on the lot, I think we're open to that. It's just really kind of what the plan is and how bad a shape it really is in.
Carol, let's have a question. Do you have another picture that shows lot A, B, and C?
I don't have a single one that shows them all three together. We only have it in individual.
Okay. B's there. A
and then C is just, yeah.
C. Oh, okay. I was just curious as to how it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, lot A is the westernmost one, so to speak, and then B just kind of continues wrapping as Moore's Lane, curves around, and then C is at the very top, backing up to Crockett Hills there at the bottom, or at the top, I'm sorry.
Kirk, this is Ashley. I just had a quick question.
Yeah,
could you speak a little bit to the topography of that property? I think there's like a drainage ditch, and I think there's some overhead electrical. Do you think the plan they presented is able to be accomplished with all of the issues on that property as far as topography, or?
I'll have to defer. I'm trying to get back to the overhead. Yeah, so you can see, I don't know, can you all see my pointer or not?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, yeah, so that's the overhead electric line kind of running there. And then obviously you can see the tributary here of the Little Harpeth. So all of that will have to be, addressed, and there'd be a waterway natural area required along this creek. But I mean, Jeff, from a standpoint, they'll have to address it, but I think the three lots are all buildable lots, don't you think, from what little you've looked at?
Yes, I believe that they are. There are electrical lines along the front and the creek that you mentioned. So they would have to address that, and the building envelopes, from what we are able to see from the images that Kurt's already shown you, do not encompass those areas. You can see that overhead electric right there that cuts across the front of Lot A.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and the creek doesn't really show up on here, and it may be, you know, impinging a little bit on a couple of these building envelopes, but with a 5 acre lot, it gives you a pretty large building envelope to not have to deal with, you know, that wouldn't be too restrictive from those things. Slope-wise, you're right, it kind of slopes from the front to the back, or from the back to the front, but it's not anything steep enough that would be too restrictive. You know, we obviously have let them know about the potential historical archaeological issues that they may have to deal with, and they'll obviously have to address those as part of their development also.
Thank you.
A couple other chat questions here. Is it possible if the barn can be restored, it can be sold for residence? I think the answer to that is no, Jeff, right? Because it wouldn't meet the setbacks?
That's correct.
And then what about saving the spring house? We made reference to that when we were out there, but there really wasn't a discussion with Randy about that. It obviously sits, I think that's probably it here. You know, it's not in the building envelope. There wouldn't be any reason that it would need to be demolished. And if he's interested in preserving some atmosphere on there, then, you know, maybe we would be willing to leave that there and upgrade it. But we really didn't have a specific discussion about that.
Could I comment?
Please.
I was going to wait for my chairman to acknowledge me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess that's my role to say yes.
Okay. This is sort of connected. You know, Mr. Pettigo's property, has he had his site plan approval yet?
Yes, ma'am, he has. He's got a preliminary plan approval. I believe that it was approved by the Planning Commission in 2018. So his vesting period is coming up in 2021. But from what I understand, he has been communicating with the engineering department and is working on trying to get this done. I'll even go as far as to say that they had a pre-construction meeting with it. So it is moving along. It is just a little slow.
Okay. Now, this is the point I want to make. We saw what happened with the neglect to the Prim house. The community cared more about their house than apparently the heirs who are scattered all over the world did. But there is a lot of interest, and there was an agreement with these slave cabins. I would like to see him start making some of the restoration efforts he talked about before or simultaneously with his building of houses. I don't want that to be left behind and neglected while he's building houses. And he seems like a man who honors his word, but I would like us to have that conversation with him.
I will be happy to have that conversation with Gerald.
Any other thoughts or again, I think at this point where I was or staff was thinking and would like your all's input on this is we think we need to get some kind of word out and we work with Deanna to figure out the right way to do that, just to let the community know what the plans are for the home and then see if that generates you know, a hero out there who comes forward and says he really would like to have a discussion about trying to do something to either save or move it. I think it's a long shot, but I think we need to do something to get the word out as opposed to it just kind of being demolished one day without a lot of community knowledge of that. But I'm curious as to if the commission has other thoughts about that.
I think that's important. This is Ashley speaking, but I think that's very important that if there is an opportunity to try to save it, that we make every effort to do that and demonstrate to the community. And I think the adjoining neighborhood probably needs to be a part of that education process as well, just because they will be somewhat impacted by that. So, but I agree, Kirk. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Any other thoughts or concerns about that, or if y'all have contacts you want us to reach out to, we'd be glad to do that also.
This is Carol. I think that's an excellent idea also because we get so many questions. Well, not now, but when we were doing Boiling Springs and you know, people would say, and with the open houses and everything, was always the question, well, what about that house across the street? So I think that's an excellent idea that you let everybody know beforehand, before it actually comes down or people seeing it being demolished and you're flooded with phone calls or the city commission is or whatever. But I think that's an excellent idea also.
Okay, thank you.
Also, when we saw the Witherspoon house, it was in really bad condition too. And someone has come in and rescued that. So as you said, maybe there's a hero out there in the community. You just never know. So let's promote it.
Definitely. I know that there are a couple of reporters watching now, tuned into this story. So I think between them and then what information we can put out on our website, I think that's a great idea.
So Sherry posted something in the chat here. It's no, it's a long shot. Would it be possible to move the log cabin portion over to Prim Park to the left of the academy? You know, I don't have an answer to that. If that's something the commission wants to discuss further and kind of present to the city, we can look at that. I mean, moving the entire home, I think, is a problem, but if that's conceivable, I don't know. We could look at that, but I would like to have the entire commission here maybe talk about that and present that, and we could.
That might also be a good question for Jim Thompson, the historic architect, just in terms of what would be involved in that process and how hard that would be. And then I think the other question is how you would incorporate that with the Boiling Springs Academy. So you're taking a historic structure out of the context of which it was constructed and putting it into another historical context. And so I think that's probably a question maybe for Jim as to if that's worth attempting to do and how much it would cost and that type thing.
Yeah.
I would be concerned as to the negative effect on the Fuchs site and the Boiling Spring Academy. I would not want to save one thing at the peril of another.
That's right. That's what I was speaking to about the historical context. You're taking it and putting it into a whole nother historic site, and it changes the historic site like Fuchs and the Boiling Springs Academy.
I'll be glad to discuss it with Jim, just to give in a big picture thought of his in terms of the historic, like you said, Ashley, the historic context of the one side and the other, and whether he thinks that's really maybe more of a negative for the Boiling Springs site. And of course, that would encompass some expense for the city. So I'd obviously have to run that through the rest of the city commissioners and if that were a direction we go. But I'll be glad to discuss that with Jim and report back to everybody. Anything else we can answer or address or discuss with you? Just appreciate your time. And I know this is a difficult one because more often than not, you all in the city have been able to work together with the property owners and save these things in one form or fashion, but that's not always the case. And again, whatever we do, I want to be clear if we put something out publicly about discussing the plans here, you know, I want to be fair to the owners here that and not cast them in any type of a negative light as doing something terrible. The reality is, you know, they have the private property rights and they're willing to salvage what they can. And so I don't want to do this where it's an adversarial situation, or appears to be that way. And hopefully you all understand that.
If I could make one more comment. I'm sorry, Carol. Go ahead.
I have one question, and this is a curiosity question. Is there a still in the basement?
Is there a what? I'm sorry.
Is there a still? You know, that
No.
someone said no, there isn't. Oh, well, I'm disappointed. Thank you.
There's enough room for one to have been there at some point, but I just wanted to make one other comment. I do appreciate, Kirk, your work and the city's work on this. I know we've got a long history in Brentwood of trying to protect these historic sites when and if at all possible. And certainly this is a difficult situation. It's unfortunate that the family has allowed it to get into this much of a disrepair, and it's not salvageable in my mind. I've been in there a number of times, and I think it just continues to deteriorate to a condition that's probably not safe to even be traveling in and out of there. But I do appreciate the work y'all are doing to try to save this.
Sure, and the property owner made us sign a pretty extensive waiver that if we had any injuries while in there, he was not liable because of that, holes in the floor. And back to Carol's question, we were just happy there weren't any live animals in the basement when we went down there, because there's certainly evidence of animals being in the home, that's for sure. Okay, well then, I'm sorry, Jeff, you wanted to say something, I'm sorry.
Yeah, before we leave this issue, I just received confirmation from engineering that they have not had a pre-construction meeting, although they are communicating with Gerald. We are waiting on a TDOT permit. If you remember, there was some improvements in the middle of Moore's Lane for a turn lane there, so that's what we're waiting on.
So what we'll do is I'll work with Deanna and we'll try to get, again, I don't know if it's the form of a press release or some social media postings or whatever to kind of make the community aware of what's planned here. I'll talk with Jim about the basic idea of moving that historic, the log cabin part of it, what would be involved in that, and whether that really is a good idea or a bad idea for both sites. And then we'll also, Deanna, maybe, I don't know who the right person would be, maybe Ashley or someone knows, to get out and look at that couch and any other furniture. There wasn't really any other pieces that Jim specifically identified as being truly historic in nature in terms of furniture. But if there's somebody that's more of a historic furniture expert, we can get out there and look at a couple pieces to see if that makes sense for the city, and the issue of the shutters, sorry, as a potential, and maybe Jim can help us on that too. But I appreciate everybody's time. I know we've taken up a lot of your time already, and you've got a lot of other things on your agenda, but hopefully you think this is as important enough for you all to be fully briefed on as we felt it was too. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Todd, do you have anything else?
Yeah, Todd does. I'm going to go over
Okay.
a request here. Are you ready for me?
Ready.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name's Todd Petrosky. I'm with the Planning Department. This Tuesday evening, we have a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, and we've got a request for 2 detached structures to replace 2 existing structures on the Ingleham, or the historic home known as Ingleham at 1800 Gray Point Drive. You may remember, I don't know those of you that were on the board in 2019, but a similar request came before you to replace the existing barn and to replace the existing garage and to replace those structures with new structures. This is the same request. However, the elevations of the garage have changed. And the applicant's on the call, and I'm sure she'll chime in a minute, but basically due to COVID and some architecture issues, the project was delayed. The project ultimately expired, and because of some changes, she's having to go back to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The image on the screen now is the property there within Ingleham subdivision. It is right at 10 acres. And so I'll just go over, so the proposed barn, the new barn, is going to be 858 square feet, and it's going to have hardy siding, and it's going to be painted cloud white. The new garage, oh, there's the site plan. The structure to your far right, I know it's hard to see, but the far right structure is the barn highlighted in yellow, and the far left structure is the garage. Both of those are existing and both will be torn down. Each was constructed in the 40s or 50s, so there's not really a historic element or concern. As far as the 90-day waiting period with the house we just heard the presentation on. The new garage will be 1,127 square feet, and it will, we'll see here. I'm trying to remember. It will, I thought I had the elevations or the materials. It's lap siding. It will be lap siding with brick accents, and it will have a shingle roof. That's the previous approval that was made in 2019. And the new barn will also have some metal roof accents. And so that's about all I have. That's an overview of what the request is. I don't know if you have questions for me or the applicant, Miss Debbie Deaver, but we're all ears. Deanna, can you show the new barn proposal?
I don't know if I have that. What is it called, Todd, in your files?
It's called item 4, barn elevations. Yeah. It's very similar to, it looks identical to the approval in 2019. Now, would you mind opening the garage elevations? That would be the new proposal. Yeah. So you'll see the main portion of the roof is shingle, and then the sides are going to be metal. 4 garage doors, lap siding painted. Everything meets the requirements of the code. They're allowed to have more than 1 or 2 structures because of the acreage. So that's all I've got. I don't know if the board has any questions or not.
Do you need a motion, Todd, from the board to move forward? I know I supported this when it came originally, and I think it's an improvement over what we've seen, over what they're dealing with right now. And I know it's not a historic structure that's going to be replaced. So do you need a motion from the board or recommendation to proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Kathy will second.
Okay. Do I have to do a roll call for everybody? Okay. Okay. So, Carol Trigger.
I approve. I approve the motion.
Jeannie Moonshower.
I approve.
Holly Cummings.
I approve.
Inetta.
I approve.
Jody Rawl.
I approve.
Kathy Greaves.
I approve.
Lois Hooker.
I approve.
Sarah.
I approve.
Okay. And I approve. Oh, and done.
I approve.
Thank you. Then it's recommended then.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is Jay Evans, for the WSM Tower update. Okay, you're on.
There we go. Thank you. It was there was a little latency there while my screens adjusted to the video sharing. Okay. Good morning, everybody. This will be kind of a brief report, but I think some good news to impart to you about. It's not about the agenda says the WSM Tower. It's more about the site and more specifically the broadcast building that sits at the base of the WSM Tower. Commissioner Dunn and I had a conversation back in November. I think Ann was precipitated by maybe a comment from a resident or maybe even somebody on the historic commission who was inquiring about the building and was WSM going to do anything with it. Nonetheless, I took the opportunity to reach out, as we've done several times in the past, to a gentleman named Jason Cooper, and he's the chief broadcast engineer over there. He's my main point of contact at Ryman for that property. And we've taken the opportunity in the past to make sure that they knew that the city of Brentwood is interested in encouraging them, when possible, to make improvements to that site. And one day we would like to see it open back up in some capacity, maybe for community tours, even if it's a couple of times a year, and perhaps invest a little bit into that property to try and preserve that historic asset. And so when I did that, just to kind of, nudge them again, I was met with some positive information. Jason said, well, Jay, we know you guys have felt that way for a while, and actually we have plans in the works. He said, however, you need to know that COVID has has brought everything really to a halt, because obviously Ryman, with the hospitality industry, they've been hit very hard with the impacts of COVID-19 and the pandemic. But just prior to the pandemic hitting, they had a team of contractors come in providing quotes for repairs and some renovations, probably minor renovation to that structure. They've got some water tightness, some weatherproofing issues that are a priority for them. But they had about $160,000 budgeted to go in and make some improvements. They've said now at this point, and by the way, Jason, he put me on to somebody else, a guy by the name of Shaw Flippin. Mr. Flippin is the executive director of projects, design, and construction for Ryman Hospitality Properties. And so he confirmed kind of what Jason was telling me. He said, yes, we are looking to make some upgrades, but we're going to have to break it up into smaller chunks. And in doing that, we think we can probably get this thing going in early 2021. Again, this information is going back in November. But we think early 2021, we can start moving forward. We've got to get the approval of leadership to do that. And a lot of that is going to be contingent upon the company's recovery from the pandemic. So it may or may not be, early this year. It may or may not be late this year, but at least they have it on their radar, and they know that they've got some water intrusion that they've got to deal with. So if you're looking at whatever repairs are necessary for that, whether it's roof and exterior siding or whatever, and then painting, and then I think they've got some interior improvements that they want to make as well. Don't know the exact timing of it. Even they don't know that, but we did want to come to you and let you know that they're looking to invest a little bit of money in the property. Hopefully, it'll start looking a little bit better in the near future. And they indicated that at some point, they would like to open it back up. In some limited capacity, perhaps for community tours or something else. But that's positive news in the right direction for an important historic asset in the community, and we kind of wanted to give you guys that update. Any questions?
Okay.
Okay, I'm not hearing any.
No. Okay, Jay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Welcome. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye. Okay. So next on the agenda is the approval of the October minutes.
This is Kathy, and I would like to say that there was a correction that has been made on the date for the November 6th planning meeting. It was a typo, 16th October. It's been corrected.
Okay. Thank you.
I make
Okay.
a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second. This is Jenny.
Okay, we have to do the roll call. Okay. Ann, Dunn,
Aye.
Ashley McAnulty.
Aye.
Oh, you just did. Harold Krieger.
Approve.
Ollie,
Approve.
Inetta,
Approve.
Jody,
Approve.
Kathy. Oh, you
Approve.
don't have to. Oh, okay. Lois,
Approve.
Lois, Tara,
Approve.
and Sherry approves. Okay. So then we're on to, I lost my agenda. Okay.
November.
History
All
Bowl.
right, so the History Bowl's next. Ann?
Okay, just wanted to touch base to say that I'm still in communication with the schools. And at this point, they're all still on board. It's very much at a state of flux because it all depends on the numbers then as to how we have to space them out. Or I was talking with Kirk this morning, and the current limit of 10 per area expires at the 19th. So we should be okay. And we would use both rooms and the hallway if we need to. See, I made some notes here. On the plaques, do we want to have them made with this year's date on them in the event we might have to cancel, or just put like first place, second place, third place, and we could reuse them next year?
I think that's a great idea, just to put without the year on it.
Anybody else?
Oh, I have a couple of questions. This is Jenny. My understanding, and I'm not sure how it pertains to events such as this. I know that WCS has some very strict policies right now with regards to athletics and participation in outside events. So I didn't know if they thought that they would have the approval to go. Like, for example, right now, only immediate family members and participants can go to basketball games, whereas they aren't even allowing cheerleaders or dance team members. There's just some pretty strict restrictions in place. So while I understand that the city limits, I just want to make sure that we know what the WCS approval for the kids to come to this event might be, number one. Number two, have we completely abandoned making it a virtual event in the event we can do it in person? Okay.
There's just no way to control how the answers are being done when it's a virtual event. At this point, we're planning for only the teams and the coaches. No family, no friends, none of that. Of course, I'm staying in communication with the coaches, and I'm trusting that they are staying in communication with their principals, and that it's okay, but we're prepared for anything at this point. I wanted to talk about the idea. It's on the 25th of February. Our snow was March the 4th. Do you think we should probably just go on and move it up to March 4th? Does that give us a little more grace period? What do you think? I'm open. I'm not set in stone any of this. That's why I wanted y'all's thoughts.
I'm just looking at my calendar for my school calendar. and I don't think this matters as much really, but there's a flex day on that February 26th, which is what we're on right now. And I don't know that that changes anything. There is not a flex day on March the 5th. That means the kids do have to get up to go to school. They have to get up at home on these flex days, but they don't go into school on them. So I don't know if that's even anything to consider. Just was kind of looking at the two dates, and those are the only things that pop up on my calendar.
If it's okay, we'll just move into February and keep assessing this, you know. Whatever we say today could change completely too. Let me see. The next question was, how are our sponsorships coming? Okay, who's doing sponsors? Have we raised any money?
This is Holly. I used to handle this, and back in November, when I kind of let it be known that I was rolling off, I had indicated to Ann Goad, and I believe I CC'd Deanna, that somebody else needed to pick up the ball and run with it in order to make sure that there was continuity throughout this process. So I haven't been doing it because I let it be known that I wasn't going to be doing it, and so I don't know who it was delegated to.
I've been in contact with the people that I got last year, and I believe Ray Little is in again. I have not confirmed with Jared Peters. Originally, he said he was. He also said something about he loves history, about the adult history bowl. We have that. But I will follow up with the other folks that I spoke with.
Yeah, we do need to know that, because we need to determine how much, you know, and I'd rather not do it at a virtual meeting because we always like to surprise them with the amount of prize money. But we need to determine that at our next meeting. So whether we've got sponsorships or not. So thank you. Let's see. That was pretty much all I have this morning. I presume everybody still can do what they said they could do. I know you were asking.
Yeah, you had mentioned about the plaques, if we should just not, put a year on it. Amplify Awards, I just got some plaques for our African American Heritage virtual event. They can do them pretty quickly. They rushed them. They look great. If we had about 5-day leeway, they could still do it and put whatever date, or year or anything like that that you would want on it. I just wanted to let you know that.
Well, that would be wonderful, because we may not know until 5 days ahead of time this year.
Right.
Okay,
right.
good. So I'll just stay in touch with you then on that.
Sounds good. Mm-hmm.
Holly?
Yes.
This is Sherry. If you could send me the file of the of your contact, then we'll send out a letter.
Yes, that's fine. I mean, I had a file. In fact, it was, I know the timing of it all was being November, because I even printed out copies for Ann Dunn to include in the Bible of History Bowl for posterity's sake. But I can easily get that to you right now.
Okay, that'll be awesome. Thank you. Okay. Ann, is there anything else that anybody wants to ask about the high school one, the school one? If not, Ann, you can keep going.
I had one more question. Just somebody mentioned the different tasks, and I was trying to find a spot where that said, is there like an updated version of what everybody's assignments are? Because I can't seem to find anything that I had signed up for or what's available yet. So I'm happy to help, of course, just couldn't really figure out where that was anywhere.
Yeah, it was. I'll send you the list. I've got it, and I need to do that anyway just to send everybody a reminder of what they signed up for. It might not be this afternoon, but it'll be in the next day or two.
Totally fine. I just don't think I had anything written down that I was responsible for, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything.
Well, some of us wouldn't even be there, trying to keep the numbers down, you know. If you don't have a specific job that night, and I'm not talking about just you, there's several that don't have specific jobs, then you just need to walk home and enjoy it, so.
Totally fine. Totally
Yeah.
fine.
But you might, I think I've got you down for something, but I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sherry, are you ready for me to start on the adult?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know if you all had a chance to read the file I sent you. I listed some civic clubs. That would be our main outreach. And I put the ones I could think of. If you can think of any more groups that I don't have listed, I'm sure there's lots of them. If you'll send them to me, if we decide to do this and I send the letters out, that's the first thing. If there's no interest, then we won't go beyond that. If we had nice interest from the community and got some people that wanted to have teams, should it be first come, first serve? Because we can only have that a max 4 teams. Any thoughts?
Yeah. This is Sherry. I think we should just do first come, first serve, because how can you turn it off, I guess?
Right. Yeah.
If you don't have a limit.
Yeah, I couldn't think of another way. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I thought my mute was on. I couldn't think of another way to do that. I think we said that we would pick some Sunday afternoon in August. Is that still good with everybody? You can just nod yes or no. I can see you all. Okay. Now, this is the catching point. Do we want to do it at City Hall or at the library? City Hall, we have the microphone system built in. The chairs and the seats are there. At the library, we have to pull out all those chairs and bring a microphone system so everybody has their own mic, not sharing one, you know. So what do you think?
I think the library gives us more room.
That's true. Well, then we'll have to have a committee, like a setup committee, and, you know, it'll be a lot more, there'll be more complications to getting ready for it than there would be at City Hall, but that's fine. And Deanna, can you do your YouTube thing down there just as well, right? That's good. Ashley, were you going to say something? Can't hear you.
Couldn't get unmuted. The only thing too is if you televise or video the History Bowl and the Adult History Bowl, not having it in City Hall would probably be quite a bit more to get the film crew or whoever. I guess Deanna though has the Facebook Live capability, so maybe that's not a problem. I'm not sure. Deanna could probably take care of that for us.
Yeah, honestly, we can figure out a way to do it at the library between, you know, a couple of cameras that we have and some other people who could help us. We could probably do it just as well there.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think that would be a popular setting, and we may draw somebody who just showed up at the library for something else and decides to drop in, so that could be fun. Okay, just a minute. Let me bring my page back up. Okay, this will be easier than the kids' History Bowl. Decidedly easier, because we want it to be fun. We don't want any gotcha, you know. We want them to have a good day that day. The kids, there's this 135 total questions. The way I have suggested this is there will be a total of 95 for the adults. 4 rounds of 20 each, and then the 2 winning teams do 15 each to see who's the winner. But do you think it would be more fun if we had like 4 rounds of 15 each and then had one Jeopardy round, not Jeopardy and double Jeopardy? Do you think the adults would enjoy that Jeopardy portion more than just more questions?
Yes, adults love Jeopardy.
Right.
Okay, and we've certainly got some that we can, would work for them. And I'm not implying that our adults aren't as smart as our students, but they've been away from history for a long time, most of them. So hopefully we'll get some buffs who will really understand this. Okay, now, actually, I think it will be cheaper doing it at the library because we don't have to pay the guy who runs the microphone system at City Hall, to do that. So we'll save some money there.
Okay.
The other thing on the prizes, I had the 2 winning team members could each get a copy of the book, John Oden's book, and then maybe $100 check to their civic club. Would that be acceptable? That way we don't have to have so many sponsorships. We don't have to knock ourselves out twice a year getting sponsorship for this thing.
I think that's a great idea, Ann.
Okay. All right. Do we want to serve cookies? I mean, make it a safe. People may be starved for social action by then, It's been a bad year. Let's have some fun and eat, drink, and be merry, if we can be. Well, that can be saved a little later. I'm not seeing y'all jumping up and down for that.
I always love snacks.
I just know Vance from here, he'd say, bring out the wine and we'll have a good turnout. So, okay. Well, so do you want me to proceed in May to start touching base with these people? And if you do, I'll start filtering through the questions, to get them down to age appropriate for them.
Okay. Do we want to do a roll call? Ann, do we want to do a roll call?
Well, I'd like an official vote, that we're either to proceed or not to proceed. And for an adult history bowl to be held sometime in August, date to be determined, at the library. And as soon as we get the date, we do need to reserve it though. We can give it up later, but let's get it on the books down there. Does anybody know of any date that would be horrible right now to settle on in August? You school people, do you know when school starts for next year?
Very early.
Okay. So should we do like the 2nd or 3rd Sunday in August? More towards the...
Maybe the 3rd or 4th
Teachers-
Sunday. The 15th,
Teachers go
maybe the
back
22nd.
August. Teachers go back August 2nd, and the students go back August 6th.
Okay. So all the beach trips and everything should be over by then. So, okay. Let's say we'll do it in August, and our next month's meeting will nail down a date and reserve the room. Is that okay? Okay, well, here's the motion then. The adult, and we'll have to come up with a better name, but the Adult History Bowl will be held on a Sunday afternoon in August at the library from 2 to 4.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. I'm going down the list. Inetta,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
Jody. I think she's off.
Yes.
Kathy. Oh, Kathy?
Yes. Yes.
Lois? And Tara? Tara?
Yep.
Okay. And then I say yes. So the motion carries.
Sherry, I vote yes too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. So motion carries. Okay. Any other questions for that? Okay. So the Bowling Spring Academy virtual field trip videos, Kathy.
Yeah, this is Kathy, and all I'm going to do is just a very quick update that the videos are completed. Our website is up and ready to go. We're just simply waiting for the county to give us the final copies for the videos themselves. We're working on a press release, but won't do that, of course, until we get everything final from the county. But it's right on the horizon of being out there. So that's pretty much what's happening.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Kathy? Okay. If not, we'll move on. Deanna?
Yes, Boiling Spring Academy. Back when Kathy and Carol have been working on these videos, they discovered a few maintenance issues at the Boiling Spring Academy. And from the eye, they seem very easy to fix. One is the door jamb is not working properly. There are about 11 bricks missing throughout the structure of the building. There are 4 shutters that are in need of repair, and there's some crown molding at the top of the building. I have photos, but for the sake of time, I'll just tell you about it. So from the eye, it would seem like these are all very simple things to fix. But once we got into it and understanding the processes of how these things will be repaired, it's pretty costly. And so then once we had a company come out and assess what needed to be repaired, they also indicated that we need some tuck pointing done. And I'm not for sure, I guess all of you are aware of what tuck pointing is, but it's basically putting in mortar again, where some mortar has deteriorated over time, and it causes moisture to get into the building. So it's something that needs to be done for preventative maintenance, and there's several spots around the building. So that's expensive. The shutters, it's not just as simple as like finding a piece of, wood and repainting it. They have to actually take them all off, make sure they're structurally together. And the front door, we thought might just be as simple as, putting some long nails in and putting it back on there. It's not. It's actually taking the door off, rehinging it. And so all of this, especially when you add it to a historic home, it exceeded $10,000. So I have been working on a request for proposal for companies to then bid on the work. And so that will be going to the city commission to approve here in the next few weeks. And so I just wanted to update you on where those repairs stand. And I really appreciate Kathy and Carol being out there often and finding those. Any questions? No. Sherry, if you're okay, I'll just jump right into the quick interactive website update as well.
Yes,
Deanna,
that's fine.
Can I ask a question? Deanna?
Yes.
And this has nothing to do with the shutters, but just a question, as I'm looking at the picture of the Ravenswood Mansion. I was just curious on the resolution that was passed the other night about limiting attendance at events. Has that hurt our revenue greatly? Just curious, because I know, with keeping up with repairs and stuff like that, was just curious to know.
I can send you some of our year-end numbers if you'd like. It definitely has. We've had cancellations. We were on record to have another, record-breaking year last year, but then with COVID, obviously our numbers dipped. So we have seen, an increase in cancellations, but I'll be happy to send you some of those numbers if you'd like.
Oh, that's okay. I just was curious. I just wondered.
Yeah, and now those limited capacity for events is in effect until February 27th. And so once we learn what the governor is going to issue with another executive order, we'll figure out how to accommodate with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so moving right along into the interactive website
Hold on a
update.
second. Hold on. I have a question.
Okay.
I walk in the park just about every day, and I did notice that at the Cool Springs house that there was a lot of digging going on. And then I noticed in the last few days there's a handicap ramp is what you're building there on the side, and that's why everything was all dug up. Did you have
Yes,
to?
that's correct.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Did you have to do? Is it just the ramp, or did you have to do the plumbing and electrical and everything?
Yes, no. So the ADA ramp is a project that we have been working on. I was going to wait and send y'all pictures of the final completed progress because each day I've gone out there, it looks like, a bomb has blown up in the front yard. So I didn't want to scare y'all. So I do want to wait, and I'm going to compile some of the whole project pictures and send to y'all. But it is a very lovely ramp that is coming. It's going to match the, decor of the home. And our contractor has done a phenomenal job of making sure that all of the, egress into the house is all smooth so that anyone who is using a wheelchair or any kind of, ADA requirement like that will be able to safely get inside.
First time I saw it, I thought, oh my Lord, what has happened here? And then when I came back another time, I saw that it actually was the ramp. So it looks really good. Looks good.
Yeah, yes, the house still has power. As far as the utilities, the only thing impacted was the internet was down one day. So we do have full utilities, and there's still heat and water inside the home. Thank you for mentioning that, Carol.
Carol.
Yes.
If you watched city commission meetings, you would have known about that.
Oh, darn. That's the one I missed. I missed that one.
Okay, so as you know, from our November planning meeting, we all discussed the interactive website and how it is in need of an upgrade. So we discussed the possibility of using some volunteer resources and also some paid vendors to pursue this endeavor. So we had mentioned that the Leadership Brentwood class of 2021 was on board with taking photos of all of 72 of the properties. They have actually gone in a different direction now with their project. So they have fallen through, but it's great because just as that happened a couple of weeks later, a Girl Scout came to us, and she is working on her final Girl Scout project, similar to the Eagle Scout and Boy Scouts. And she is going to, I sent her the proposal the other day. She's in the process of getting it approved, and hopefully she'll be able to take our photos. If not, plan B for that is possibly pursuing a professional photographer to take those photos. There are quite a large number. Yes.
Anna.
Yes.
If hopefully this Girl Scout is a good photographer, and it will happen. But in the past, the Brentwood Camera Club was just indispensable in getting things for us. And I think they still exist. I know my next door neighbor belongs to them, and they would be wonderful. They have beautiful photography.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. I know also John Major has expressed interest also, and many of you know him from city boards. He's expressed some interest also in helping us out. So I'll follow up on one of those paths.
And Deanna, I'm happy to take any pictures that you need. I take a lot of pictures up at Ravenswood all the time, so I'm happy to help in any way.
Okay, thank you.
I happen to live with someone who is a very good photographer, and so that might also be an option. Just saying.
Well, between all these people, we could divide up all 72 sites, and I think we could get it done. So I'm writing y'all's names down on my sheet. Okay. All right, so the other part of the website is taking all of the information from the old website and transcribing it over to the new website. And I know y'all's concern is making sure that the history and the historical elements are intact. So at our November Planning Commission meeting, we discussed hiring possibly an editor, and Brentwood resident Bridget Day came to mind. So I reached out to her. She is interested in the project. She has already done one site as an example of taking the history and then transferring it over into the proper form that we will need it for the new website. She's done a great job. She has also given us a proposal of what her fee would cost if we wanted to contract with her and pursue this. So this estimate is from Bridget Day, and it will be on your screen here. Can you guys see it? So she is proposing to do 72 of the historic sites. That's editing it into transferable information over to the new website. She is estimating that to take her about, she could do 1 per hour. That's obviously about 72 of those for a total of about $1,584. So that's the 72 sites of information. Plus, this should make Kathy happy. She is also suggesting to transcribe all of the cemetery information as well. And this is a little more, I think, cumbersome after looking at the website. There's lots of identifying information as to who's in those cemeteries. So I'm going to work with her exactly to make sure this $440 quote is right. But this is what she's proposing, that she could do all of the information and transcribe all of that information that's currently on our website to a new website. That would be $2,024. And so that's what I wanted to present to you. If you wanted to take a vote on this, she does have some time coming up where she could get started on this soon.
I think this is wonderful, personally. I'm going to jump in there. This is Kathy. It's very time consuming as far as I can see, and I think it's a very reasonable price for the product that we're getting.
And I know one concern with the board in November when we talked was making sure that it's a local person who kind of understands the nuances of Brentwood and the history. And so Bridget is obviously a person who comes with the Brentwood knowledge.
Deanna.
So Deanna, all right, was that you, Ann? Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if we could see. You said she did a really wonderful job of one of them. Is there any way we can see that?
Yes, let me pull that up right now.
So Deanna, while you're pulling that up,
yes,
is there, I think we have to go back and get some of the information corrected before she can put some of that on the website, correct?
yes. So I would like to have one of the Historic Commission members appointed to be kind of the proofreader. So once Bridget supplies all this information to us, I would then like a member of the Historic Commission to be the editor, the content editor. So Bridget would be the first stop, content editor would be the second stop, and then the third part would be I would actually upload it onto the website once it's approved by the Historic Commission. So if anyone is willing to do that or nominate themselves for that, that would be great.
Well, I see that.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work for one person.
It would be reading 72 pages of information, you know, looking over what's there now, and then reading the new version of it.
I think more than one person could do it.
I do too.
I don't think that one person should do that, because some of like Ashley has a lot of information on some things. Kathy has a lot of information on some. Anne has a lot of information on some things. So I think there's a lot of people that more eyes need to be on it than just one person.
That's a great suggestion. So if somebody's willing to make a motion to move forward with the proposal we have, and I am trying to find that in my email, but unfortunately my email has decided to stop working right now. So,
okay, does anybody want to make a motion to move forward?
Kathy will make a motion that we accept the plan for $2,024 to pay Bridget to whatever she does to those.
Describing.
Sorry, words aren't coming.
I'll second that motion for whatever she does.
Thank you, Jody. The motion that doesn't exist. I love it.
Do we need to clarify what the motion is for Lois and her note taking?
Yes, we do.
I make a motion to accept the proposal from Bridget Day for $2,024 to transcribe information from the website.
And now I second the real.
Okay. So now we're going for the vote. Inetta?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Holly?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes, and I second it.
Yes, thank you. Kathy? And you made the motion.
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Lois?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
And Sherry, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. And if you maybe could just think about between now and the next meeting, who might like to take upon the reading kind of portion of these, maybe we can have a couple or 2 or 3 people do that.
Deanna?
Okay.
Deanna, can you email us that, my vote wasn't contingent on seeing it, but I still am interested in how she did it.
Yes, I will. I will send you that in an email.
Okay.
Yeah, send it to all of us.
I will.
So we can read it. Okay. All right. So are there any more questions or comments? If not, we'll go to the next one, and so the November planning meeting discussion. So we did not get through all our topics at our last meeting. And so I know this meeting is going a little long, but the next time for the next few meetings, I'd like to take one topic that we didn't get to and discuss it, if that's okay with you all. So I think the ones were advocacy, establishing a volunteer committee. I think some were fundraising, and then I think I had one that was what do you consider historic, and should we be looking at structures now to add to our list? And because one of those that there was a barn on Wilson Pike that probably wasn't in any way remarkable, but it was over 120 years old. And because it wasn't on our site, it was torn down. And the people that bought that property wanted to keep it, from what I understand. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think we need to look at some structures that are not on our list. And if you think that is something that's important to do, we could start talking about that. So what do you think? Anybody have any objection to it?
No, Sherry, can I jump in?
Uh-huh.
This is Inetta.
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's a great segue. I just wanted to talk real quickly. And once you mentioned about us discussing advocacy with the Heritage Foundation's committee that I'm now on, it's preservation and advocacy. And they're looking for some ideas to be their like first initiative thing that they're looking for. We have a meeting February 4th. And basically what they're saying is they want to focus on educational advocacy and grassroots support efforts for this year. I can't do this and represent Brentwood without you guys. I think I mentioned that in the email. And thank you all for the congratulatory remarks. I appreciate it. I was shocked, honestly. But I don't know if we would have enough time, or if somebody could send me some email thoughts or whatever, but that might be a great way for us because they want to represent the entire county. And since we are a very, popular board as far as history, for us to have some way to advocate, if you have some ideas, maybe some specific, like you're saying, maybe a barn or something like that you wanted, our committee to at least look at for this year, that would be a great way to get this on to the Heritage Foundation's radar.
Okay.
Inetta, and today's not the day for the discussion, but with advocacy, remember our board talked about the cavalier attitude that there is about family cemeteries just being dug up for development. We talked about getting our legislators involved.
Yes.
That seems like advocacy to me, and having the Heritage Foundation partner with something like that would be excellent. So when you go to your meeting on the 4th, maybe you could kind of, test the waters with that a little bit and see what their thinking is.
That's a great idea. Thank you, Ann.
Yes, that's good. Okay, so
I was just going to add one thing, Sherry, and then Inetta, I think your work will be very important there, and I am seeing some really good things coming from the Heritage Foundation and the leadership there. The one thing I was going to speak to a little bit, Sherry, I guess a good place to start in terms of determination of historic would be a couple places. Of course, the National Historic Register has definable historic site requirements, but then also it needs to correspond with our city zoning and planning. And so how those two converge, I think, is going to give us some good, strong guidance on what constitutes historic in the city of Brentwood. So just some ideas there on that.
Okay. All right. So is there a topic that everybody wants to discuss next time? Or you may just pick?
I think the fundraising piece is a good piece to discuss, because I know we're in an environment right now where we really can't do events of any size and generate additional revenues. But I think that's something we have to plan longer term. So I know there's a number of historic properties that are privately owned in Brentwood, and so we may want to begin thinking about an event at a site, and what does that look like, and at what point do we do that, and we need to go ahead and get on folks' calendar if we're going to try to do something like that. So while we can't hold those events right now, we probably ought to be thinking well ahead as we plan for something like that.
Okay, all right, so that'll be our first one to talk about then. Okay, so then we're going back to the reports. And so I'd like for you, because we all are working, and I'd like for you to send all your reports to me by February the 12th. And then we'll send out a packet, your board packet, with all those in it a week prior. So I think that's always helpful, and it gives us less time that we have to be in a meeting, but also we can ask a question if we don't understand what was in the report. So, so if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would be great. And for next time, the Heritage Foundation has put out their dates for their festivals, and we've participated in the past, and so start thinking about if we want to participate this next time. So we'll talk about that the next time. And so this is Holly's last meeting, and I'd like to thank you very much for your service, and I hope you won't be a stranger, and will continue to help us out if we need it, or come to our events. Don't forget about us.
Not a problem, Sherry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And then does anyone else have anything else that you like to discuss? And if you have anything that you want to put on the agenda for the next time, Deanna says we have to publish 2 weeks prior. So I would need to know what you want on your agenda 2 weeks before our meeting. So that would be 12th, I think. Is that right, Deanna? 12th of February?
No.
So if that's okay.
It would be,
other than that,
sorry, we need to publish the agenda online by February 5th, Friday, February 5th.
oh my gosh, okay, February 5th. Okay, so think about it in the next 2 weeks, and send to me what you'd like to discuss. Okay. Thank you all so much.
Wait.
Okay.
That's true if we meet online, right? But hopefully by March or April, we'll be through with all that. Sherry, I want to go back a second to this because I'm confused. The website editing. So you're looking for a chairman of a committee that will do that. Is that correct?
No, we don't need a committee. We already have, people.
No, I mean just to edit these things. We said we needed more than one person. This is why I'm confused. That 70 is too many for one person to do. So do we need somebody? She asked for a volunteer for next time. Is that person volunteering to do all 70, or to get a couple of people to help them to do all 70?
If we get 3 people to divide 72 sites, that would be 24 per person. And so really all I see that person doing is just reading and confirming that the information is accurate, because it's already on the website. So I feel like the information that's on the website there is already, I guess, accurate. We're just kind of condensing it a little bit in a different format for this new website.
But some of the information on the website isn't correct before she gets it. That's my concern.
Okay. So how do we want to proceed then?
So I guess the question would be, Deanna, when it comes to the new website, is it in a format that can be edited pretty easily? I think it's on a newer platform, probably, where it could be edited and once it comes to the new website. So can you, once it's there,
Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier though to edit it in a piece of Microsoft Word paper before all the information is put on the website. I mean, we could do it by going straight from Bridget's information straight to the website, but then it's going to be a whole lot more time consuming to then go back and re-edit a lot of stuff on the website if we wanted to do it that way. We could.
So then our improvement, Kathy, needs to come before it goes to the website. So that's your question, is who's going to do that and how do we get that done? How much do you think is in error of the information that's on there right now, Kathy? Do you have an idea or an estimate of that?
Well, certainly the Owen Prim house, that whole write-up is a mess. We know that. The Crockett's, again, a lot of it is just the dynamics of the pages are turned around and some of them are missing, that kind of thing. So, you know, maybe she can take the stuff and put it back together correctly. Those are the two big ones that pop out to me because they're commonly looked at and references are made to them.
Okay, this is Sherry. If I can make a suggestion, could she come up with a schedule of what one she's going to do, and then we can assign people to do them, and then she'll get the correct information to work off of. How about that?
I think that is definitely a start in a reasonable direction.
Yeah. So if she'll give us a schedule of where she's going to start, then let's do that.
Okay, I guess I'm just stupid, but I am still confused. What Deanna asked for was after she does the write-up. We compare what she did with the old one. Now you're just saying, let's do the new one. Let her tell us what she's going to do, and we're to research what's on our website to see if it's correct. Kathy's the only one that knows whether the two she's interested in. I couldn't tell you at all if one of these 70 sites, the information is accurate without doing independent research. Am I making sense?
Yes, you are. You are. But it would be good to know, because then if you have an interest in doing it, then you could do a little research on it. So, and help them out.
Let's get real here. Who is going to research 70 of these things on our website to see if they're accurate? Nobody. I mean, that I know of. I don't see hands flying up to do that.
Well, I don't know. Well, let's just start with the schedule, and let's maybe just read it and see if anything jumps out. You know, if she's doing 3 a week or whatever she's doing, 1 a week, then that wouldn't be so bad. So then, you know, those that know that they're doing the Owen Prim can go ahead and research that portion if there's an interest. But if there's not an interest, then we just put what's on the website and go from there. Does that make sense?
I would say Kathy has the information. Let her do those two, and let's operate on the assumption that the rest are correct at this point. And let Bridget do her thing, and that committee compare the old website to the new to make sure she's at least got the information that's there on it. But we can correct the two we know about.
Right. Okay. So I know if Ashley has a suggestion for some, because I think you've referenced some in the past, that aren't correct.
Well, then he can
So
be,
I still think the schedule thing is good so that we know what's coming up, so that people can do their schedules accordingly. So I think that's still a good idea, so that we know.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea moving forward, because some of them will have a lot of information, some won't have very much information at all, and so the combination, it should work out pretty well that way.
Yeah. Okay. So is there anything else? Everybody good? Shake your hand. Okay. All
And
right. So
if I could just interject for just a second, I really want to thank you all for being willing to do this WebEx. I know some of you haven't had an opportunity to do a lot of these, and so it might have felt awkward. So I think Sherry has done a phenomenal job of leading and just adapting to this. So thank you all for being willing to try this platform.
awesome.
Thank you all.
It's great. Thank you. All right. Our next meeting is
It
February the 19th. And I guess, are we virtual then on the 19th? Deanna?
I would probably go ahead and plan for that. But again, I mean, obviously it's what you guys are comfortable for, but I would plan for virtual for the February one at least.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we will close the meeting. Adjourned.
Have a good week.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.